I was educated in the U.S., was born in the U.S. I studied thermodynamic engineering, which jokingly doesn't really make me qualified for the advertising industry, but it was a great experience.
I am
exactly. And I worked in obviously brand marketing and development of brands. I worked for PepsiCo all over the world. And between 1985 and 1989, I worked in Pakistan. So I really enjoyed working here, and I traveled the country extensively. So I worked for Pepsi. I covered all of Asia. I lived in Singapore, but Pakistan was one of my territories, and it was a very good territory for Pepsi back in the 80s. So that was my first exposure to Pakistan, and I always believed our partners and the people we worked with in Pakistan had this incredible can-do attitude. They were very positive. They could do anything, and I just loved their enthusiasm, so I've always loved Pakistan. I did come back in around 2000 when I had, and since leaving Pepsi, I've started a number of digital media companies. I have started now 2 analytics businesses. One I sold to Nielsen. I've acquired another analytics business that I'd sold to ComScore. And I have a number of other ventures that have kind of emerged since about the mid-90s in this digital media space. What sparked my interest? Well, after leaving Pepsi, I had moved to Australia to help acquire a few businesses for a New Zealander, interestingly. And I fell in love with Australia, and I moved there, and I've lived there for almost a little over 20 years. After I moved there to stay in the country, I had to create 45 jobs to get a visa and to become permanent residents. And so I'm really the accidental entrepreneur. My first company grew to $110 million in sales in its first year. I grew to 75 employees, and we were named Exporter of the Year in an industry totally unrelated to the internet. But I found being an entrepreneur easy because of that experience. After that experience, in 1995, I started dabbling in the internet because I historically had been in branding and using many forms of media to communicate my message. And then the internet came along, and I believed it was going to be the future of advertising. In 2000, I came to Pakistan to assess whether or not the industry was ready for digital media, and in a very large scale. And my conclusions back in 2000 were that it was still about a decade away from people adopting digital media in Pakistan. And so 12 months ago, with a new company we founded in 2009, Effective Measure, we recruited MTS to be our country manager and to set up our business here. And he's had a year working with all the major publishers, agencies, and advertisers in Pakistan. And he's got an incredibly rich understanding of the market. And we're glad we've come and invested in Pakistan because we believe there's a great future. I've owned a number of really strong digital agencies in my career. And the agencies I've met so far I'm quite impressed with. I think there is a interesting shift where we've had media buying, we've had traditional creative development, and we've had digital agencies that did a little bit of everything. I think you're finding agencies kind of consolidating to be full-service agencies and offering really what they should be doing is a one-stop shop for an advertiser to deliver the stuff. We have probably 150 attributes per user right now, and they're generally broken up into 4 categories: demographic profile, behavior, context, and psychographic. So I'll kind of take you through what each of those means. So demographic profile we capture through surveys, and that's pretty much the standard questions that most advertising campaigns run off demographics. But we always understand and believe that what people tell you in a survey may not be exactly what they are or what they do. So we also monitor their behavior, and we watch them visit various websites in the local country, and we draw some conclusions about what their interests are. And then we also understand the context of what stories they're reading, and we can recommend that when they read this type of story, this is a really good message for an advertiser. So I think behavior and context we measure at a census level, and demographics we measure at a statistically sampled level of surveying people. Well, you know, it's really interesting. I think you need the growth of a market, and we sit on a continuum of developed markets that have grown a lot and emerging markets that are still in their infancy. I think there's no doubt that the building blocks of growth and success reside initially in infrastructure. A very strong, high-speed broadband network is important. And every time as broadband grows, we see adoption grow because the experience gets better. As you introduce a 3G mobile network, you will find people will start using their mobile phones more and more for digital content consumption. So that's my limited exposure. Those are the building blocks. So have a strong network and have very low-cost devices that can access that network. That's the first thing. Then the second thing, after you get what I call the base building blocks of running a business, the second thing you need to do is find a couple of really bold, innovative people in the market that are prepared to do something innovative. And you write a case study about that innovation. And when you write that case study about the innovation and people see that it actually, there's a way to do something better, then generally everyone follows. But it takes always someone, a strong, an innovative advertiser, an innovative agency, or an innovative publisher that comes up with an idea that we support, and then everyone else says, "Oh, that was such a great idea. I should be doing something like that." And so today in Pakistan, I think you've got a strong internet. You're months away from announcing a 3G network for mobile. So I think all the building blocks are in place. The next steps are really to get a few innovative people trying new things and then writing case studies about those new things. Well, I think it was naturally the case because they were content creators when the digital revolution came. But one thing we're finding about content creation, and I think YouTube is a classic example of this, is that anybody can create content. Anybody can upload content. And if there is one message I would like to leave here is that I hope we don't lose sight of the fact that local Pakistani content is quite important to the success of the digital media industry here. The 5 publishers or 6 publishers, the big publishers are doing a great job. The bloggers are doing a great job. I just would hope there'll become more. I think the more people creating content locally, the more people will be interested in the content. Interesting. The interesting thing that we've seen is people will create content if there's a place to host the content that's relatively low cost, and there is a place and they get some value in creating the content. So there's an advertising model that allows them to sell advertising as part of their content. So historically the first group that kind of got into video content was YouTube, and they became allow people to host content and make a little bit of money for advertising. I do believe that was a great model in the beginning when it was very expensive to host video content and everything else. I would suggest that there will be a couple of Pakistani companies that will be innovative like YouTube, and will be a place for kids to upload and adults to upload videos, and they can use that as a form of advertising. And I believe that content creation has grown because of YouTube, and if there was a Pakistani local alternative, I think content will grow in this market because of it. So. Well, I do believe we work generally in emerging markets, although we have some more developed markets like Singapore, Australia, and New Zealand that we are currently running our business in. But my take is that this business is set to really take off more rapidly than any region around, and India. I think Pakistan and India is forecasted to grow. Digital media spend is forecasted to grow almost 52% a year for the next 4 years. So the world doesn't see that kind of growth rate. So that's great growth rate. So. We offer a lot of training. We believe the only way our business can be successful is everyone learns how the data is collected, learns how to use the data, and we help them through case studies on how they can improve their business. Over and above that, we have worked very closely with universities, trade schools, schools, vocational education schools, any school that wants to run a course. We're more than happy to offer our product free. We'll help train in how to use the tool. But we believe the more people training people, the better. And we offer a number of free courses like this. We'll run in February and March. We're going to run events in all the major cities in Pakistan for training events. But we shouldn't be the only ones training. We're more than happy to help other people train and set them up with the tools to train. So we're interested in working with any educational institutes that would like to train people. No, I haven't done that. I came in 2000 to look at launching one of my other businesses here, and I felt it wasn't quite time, and we think the time's right now. So, yes. And so we will be running training in 2013.
There's going to be a lot more of those.
Absolutely, a lot more. And the feedback here was we'd love more training and spend more time, and that's what MTS will really focus the majority of his efforts in 2013 on training. So.
Okay. And how do you find the people over here
love them.
While you were training them?
I think I've been treated exceptionally well here, and I think the people here are spectacular. So.
In terms of learning,
personally, I think there's so many of them that have actually worked outside of the country and brought great ideas back that I don't think we're starting from zero at all. I think we have huge experience here right now. So. Very, very good reason for that. We actually are going to smaller and smaller surveys because we follow the unique device to many websites. We can ask one or two questions on one website, ask one or two questions on another one, and we're constantly building up that rich insight into that client. Then we watch, on top of that, now we know it's a 42-year-old male and he lives in Karachi and he's a CEO of a company, he's affluent, he lives whatever. We've captured all that, and we then monitor his behavior. So he's looking, if over the next 4 months he spends more and more time looking at an Audi website, all indications are we can predict pretty close when he's going to buy an Audi and how much he's going to spend and what model he's going to buy because of what he's been doing on the Audi site, if that makes sense, or another automotive site. So, so knowing him at that point in time is incredibly important to Audi or BMW or anyone who's trying to sell him a car. But then his behavior changes. He buys a car, and he's probably not looking at those websites anymore. So we can deduce that he's no longer in the market for a car. He's probably bought one. And if we were tagging the Audi site and we knew that he registered to buy one on that site, then we'd know for sure that he's bought it. So I think intention and psychographic behavior is based on time, and it's constantly changing. So while demographics are relative, your age and sex are relatively stable, your behavior will change depending on your needs at a very, very point in time. And then we also find if he has more than one device, the individual may read the New York Times on his iPad on the weekend and use his phone when he's driving around the city and his iPhone, and then maybe his laptop at work and maybe a smart TV at home. And we can correlate all that by asking him questions and getting him to share information with you. So we get a better profile of him across many media